Good evening, it's 8 o'clock and tonight at 8 o'clock our thoughts are with the Indian students in Ukraine, the Indian students who are desperate to get out, and also with the Indian students who've made it home. Joining me tonight in our studio is two young students, Jhanvi and Ashutosh, and the father of Jhanvi, Mr. Tiwari. These are students who've come back. Literally, it's fantastic that they're back in India safely. Luckily, they were in Western Ukraine, but they're telling their story and also reaching out to others still stranded in Ukraine. We hope they will be back soon, with the Indian government redoubling its efforts to get every Indian citizen home. The latest is at least 4,000 students have been evacuated, but thousands more currently are trying to flee. Amid snowfall and hunger, students are waiting bravely at borders as Indian diplomats and now ministers will fly in. Chaos today at the capital Kyiv station as the curfew is lifted. Students try to board trains. More flights, meanwhile, are landing in Delhi today with students. The Prime Minister's third meeting on Ukraine in the last 24 hours. Ministers will fly to the borders of countries with Ukraine to help students. India, meanwhile, abstains on a UN General Assembly vote. Peace talks are currently on between Russia and Ukraine in Belarus. Ukraine's demands declare ceasefire, withdraw troops and withdraw the annexation of Crimea. Meanwhile, the fifth day of fighting continues. Heavy shelling in Ukraine's second largest city, Kyiv. Ukraine, meanwhile, tells the EU, let us join the European Union immediately. Meanwhile, as India abstains again at the United Nations on calling an emergency meeting on Russia along with China and the UAE, that UNGA meeting will be held later tonight. It's an unprecedented and unusual meeting going ahead despite Russia's objections. And tough sanctions hit Russia hard from the United States and Europe. The Russian ruble crashes. Long lines at ATMs across Moscow. Putin remains defiant, says Western countries are an empire of lies. The other headlines, Q3 GDP is lower at 5.4% versus Q2 GDP at 8.4%. GDP and core sector growth are both down for the latest quarter. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Stalin and Rahul Gandhi bond at the launch of his autobiography. Stalin says we need to unite to fight divisive forces. Rahul Gandhi says, I am Tamil, my blood is mixed with your soil. And Manipur votes in the first phase today, counting with the other 4 states on the 10th of March. So a dramatic Monday today on the latest on the Ukraine conflict. And the Prime Minister's high-level meetings continue. He's currently chairing his third meeting in the last 24 hours. Meanwhile, for Indian students, the chaos in Ukraine continues. Now they're trying to get out of the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv, as the weekend curfew is lifted. Ukraine asked for a ceasefire at peace talks currently on with Russia, and heavy shelling continuing in Ukraine's second largest city of Kyiv. This is the fifth day of fighting. Russia currently is not in control of any major city. Ukrainians are fighting back hard. India also is sending 4 ministers to Ukraine's neighbors to help evacuate people. That include Hardeep Puri, V.K. Singh, Kiran Rijiju and Jyotiraditya Scindia. Russia and Ukraine are currently meeting for talks in Belarus. Meanwhile, 193 UN members have called for an emergency meeting of the UN General Assembly. Earlier, India abstained from the vote for UNGA meeting, which will likely condemn Russia, and the Russian ruble collapses 28% after sanctions. Russians rush to withdraw foreign currency. The UK tightens sanctions, saying with allies, we'll cripple Russia's economic development. But first, let's go across now to the Kyiv Central train station. Now, remember, this is where Indian students who are in Kyiv, there's a weekend curfew, are trying to get out from there to get to the borders. Jyoti, what is the latest news?
Yeah, well, it's a terrible situation here, actually. Hundreds of Indian students have arrived at the train station, and what I've just seen, really disheartening. So I was with a group of students. They were very happy that they were finally going to be able to get out of the war zone. And upon trying to board the train, they were unable to. They were just sort of pushed back in the crowd, and other people waved in front of them and allowed to board the train. They were trying to speak in Ukrainian and just saying, please, please, just let us on, and to no avail. So at this point, the door shut in front of them, and clearly some anger, some fear, sadness, everything all mixed together. And so the last that I've just spoken to them, and they're trying to contact the embassy and see what to do, because it appears that this is a trend. Indian students coming, they're really close to the doors of the train, and just then, they're turned away, they're pushed back, the doors are closed in front of them. No one's
If you could just hold on, Jyoti, for 5 minutes. We've been sent videos really of what you're talking about. I'd just like to play that to just give a sense of what that is. But remember, of course, this is because Kyiv station also just opened today. So there are thousands there, not just Indian students, all trying to get on to these trains. Let's just listen. So let's just go, Jyoti, to that report you're talking about when you spoke to Indian students.
So how are you doing? How have you been doing?
Now I'm really fine, but really need to go back home. The war situation is getting worse day by day, and it's important for us to go back. So just trying.
So how are you feeling about this journey? Because even now the journey is kind of uncertain, isn't it?
It's so unsure what might happen on the way, but they are assuring that it will be safe for us, the Hungary border. So let's hope so. It's good.
What's it called? The thing they put out, they said the Indian embassy is arranging trains for Indians.
They're not arranging. They're just telling it that this is the window. Just go to the railway station. Nobody's helping us board the train.
लगा के थक गए हैं. बंद कर रहा है.
Very happy now.
What's it called? The thing they put out, they said the Indian embassy is arranging trains for Indians.
They're not arranging. They're just telling it that this is the window. Just go to the railway station.
Have you been talking to your family in India?
Yeah.
How are they feeling?
They are, what can I say, they are tense about us, but at the same time they want us back as soon as possible.
There's no train, no resources from the Indian embassy, zero.
And they're not letting us. They pushed us away. All the Indian students, they pushed us away. The Ukrainian people. There is no Indian officer helping us out.
What do they want? These students have gone through more in one day than most people do in their lives. Not only are they in the middle of a war, they just fought one on a train platform and lost. Now they say they don't know where they're going to go or what they're going to do next. All the hope they had this morning is gone.
So those are students trying to get out of Kyiv, but with me are two lucky students who are back here for Operation Ganga. They've flown back on special flights yesterday from Bucharest to Delhi, and also with them the relief father of Janvi. So with me is Janvi Tiwari and Ashutosh, both just back from Ukraine. They've just back yesterday. So welcome back to India. It's really wonderful to see you both safe. And Mr. Vinod Tiwari, who is the father of Janvi. So first, Janvi, let me begin with you. Do you believe that just 24 hours ago you were at a border stranded like the students were? And when you look at what's happened in the last 24 hours, since war broke out?
Yeah, so like I can say we were the lucky ones because we took the right decision like at the right time. Like it was like group of students like in which even Ashutosh Bhaiya was there. So like we decided that we are going to like take a bus and go to the Romanian border, and there was post border. There is no help of the embassy. Like it is the students who are going there by all by their own, and like after you cross the border, there is some help from the embassy, which is obviously not enough, but at least they are helping us once you cross the border. But before that, there is no help from the embassy. That's what it is.
Ashutosh, tell us, when you first heard, how did you first know that war had broken out? Many are asking that why didn't the Indian students leave earlier?
Okay,
why did you all wait and now get stuck in this situation?
I will tell about this. Actually, our embassy was giving us advisories around like 1 week before, and they were telling our universities to go online, but our universities were stiff on their decisions to remain offline. A day before it was online for us, and we were starting to evacuate the cities, but at the same night it was online, the war broke out. I was sleeping at my flat and I received a phone call from a friend to tell me just go out and see, fighter jets are flying over the sky and you will feel the war has started. So I just went out and I saw, I can hear the voice of the fighter jets, and soon I went and hurried to the supermarkets to store the food because we didn't have any to eat. So at that time I could see, when I reached out, I could see a blast happening at the airport, which I could not see from my eyes, but in the sky it was whole black cloud. And that time I realized, yeah, the war has started, because my city was the safest as told by Ukrainian officials to us.
No, and you know, I'm sure that you all must have thought you were alone, but I'm sure for everyone in India, and Mr. Tiwari, I've seen the parents work just awake day and night to see how they can get their children back. What was these last 4 days, 5 days like for you? And how did you feel when your daughter finally walked off that flight?
It was really a nightmare for us. And the last 4 nights we could not sleep at all. We were just tracking them. We were trying, because being a girl child, it was more difficult for us. And we were tried here and there, everywhere, where whatever we are listening, we were trying to contact them, even senior students, even whosoever is there or whosoever we know, we were trying to contact. We were trying embassy, we were trying to contact embassy, we were trying to contact Ministry of External Affairs, posting on this Twitter, everything we were doing. However, it was really a very tough time. But you see, one thing more I would like to add here, in any country, in these situations, this is bound to happen. In disaster condition, in something happen, calamity condition, in those conditions also it happens. So it is bound to be. Yes, definitely for us it was a nightmare.
No, absolutely, it's a war. So, and in that sense, for India to get in when the Ukrainian airspace is closed and Air India flight turned back mid-air, it's extremely difficult. But tell me, Janvi, just from the point of view of a student, and we saw that we've seen so many girls and boys posting videos telling us what it's like. What was it like for you when you got to the border? What was it like just staying together? It's lucky that there's so many Indian students, maybe community, but what was it like for you? What was the most difficult part for you these last 4 days?
I can say crossing the border was the most difficult, and plus like we were lucky because when we came to the border there was not that much rush there, but like as soon as and plus we were girls, so we were given priority over there, so it wasn't that difficult for us being girls than for the boys. They had actually the tough time over there. And then as soon as you get cross that border for the immigration process, there was a big line of about 4 to 5 hours where you have to be in that line. So that was the second difficult part.
And what about food?
No food. There was no food in the line, obviously. And there are still many students, if you're getting the news that there are many students there who are stuck at the border, and they are not getting food. They're living in cold. Their mobile phones are their mobile phones are not switched off, so that their parents are not able to contact them.
In fact, I just want to play 2 of those videos, because there's one video which is really, you can see these Indian students and they're wearing very light jackets and it's snowing. So they're out there in the snow. If we can just play that video, and then a video of border guards actually kicking some students. So Ashutosh, if you could describe to us what happened. This may be a different border because of course you came through Bucharest. But what was it like, the weather, and how did the border guards treat you?
The border guards were like really harsh on us. They were telling us the strongest one will be the last one to leave because we want men here to fight, and they were not letting us cross. They were giving shout outs to the women and the children to leave the border very easily. But being a man that day, it felt like it was a crime in the world to be a man. And we were 10 to 15 of friends together, and we were just praying that howsoever we can cross, because it was so windy and so cold. Even our feet starts to freeze because even the ground got like very cold. And this snowing happened in the other part of the border that was near the Polish side. But it was much more worse than snowing where we were. We were at the Romanian border, and it was much more worse for us to survive.
What kept you going? What were you thinking of? Did you ever think that I'm not going to make it through? What kept you going?
No, I just thought that we were not going to make it, because the way they were shouting at us and they were abusing us, we felt like, no, it was the last stage for us. After that, we don't know who will come to pick us up, because what I did was I left all the girls behind in the bus, and me and my friend went 8 kilometers by walk to the border because buses were not going after that. So we went there, we can see no embassy official, no Indian there, and we were really disheartened to see that. So I started to make calls, so no one was picking up my call, no embassy official or so. So I asked some of my seniors, what can I do? So they asked us just go and do what everyone else is doing. So we went back 8 kilometers again. We got these guys with us. Then we just went into the line. We could see they are making girls go very easily to cross the border. So we told all the girls, just leave your stuffs behind and just please cross, because we don't know whether we will cross, but you can cross very easily.
That's wonderful that all of us stayed together. So
yeah, that was the one thing which we did very well.
Mr. Tiwari, did you feel nice when you heard that, or at least that you felt that they were all together at this time of difficulty?
Yes, that was the strength. On that only I could able to take a decision to send my daughter along with the students. That was a great inspiration for me. That was a great strength for me. That 52 children. Even I contacted him and he told, "Don't worry, uncle, I will take care of her. I will personally take care of. She is my sister. I'll take care of her." Because I was worried. The night time, they are traveling in a remote area, 9 hours.
We left by 4:30, I guess.
Yeah, 4:30 we left.
We left by 4:30, and it was about from Ivanov, it is 9 hours 45 minutes precisely. The border is there, so it was a huge.
So Janvi, what kept you going? Were you praying? Were you thinking of your parents? What kept you going?
Obviously we just wanted to get back home.
Fear of death maybe?
Yeah, fear of death maybe.
Yeah, that was the reason.
Because I have one of my friend because on 24th in the morning I got a call from one of my friends. Her friend, she lives in Kharkiv. She studies in Kharkiv, and we got a call from her in the morning, and she's like, I can see there is bombs, explosions happening just in front of me. People are running, and she was crying, and she was like, I don't know what should I do.
No, and the Indian government's now sending 4 ministers. The Prime Minister is having another meeting as we speak. He said he'll bring back every student. But he's also said, and we've seen this, that so many people are saying that why are students going to Ukraine to study? Why didn't you come back? Yeah. It's your fault. What do you say when you hear all this?
I would like to ask them to check the number of candidates which sit in NEET every year. It's around 17 lakhs, and they keep on increasing every year. And the seats they have in India, especially government seats, they are around 20-25,000. Rest all are paid seats which crosses 1 crore or more. And being a middle class family person, we cannot afford this much. And these countries provide us medical education at a very low cost. So that's the reason we go out. Because also, we also don't like to stay away from our parents because we have food problems.
So it's not out of choice, it's out of compulsion. It's not that this thing. Janvi, finally, as we end, is it true that there was racism? Did you feel that there was racism at the border? Because otherwise, apparently, the Ukrainians are very warm, friendly people.
No, who told you? No, it's not true.
Some of them are, but there is racism everywhere. So yeah, but at the border there was.
So finally, as I said, that we've seen that there are 3 meetings in the last 24 hours on Ukraine, 4 ministers now going. What would you finally say to the Prime Minister and the government now that you're back home safely?
Like, I would request them to like speed up the evacuation process, because obviously children are scared, and obviously like even we had that question in our mind. Okay, we are safe for now. Like there was not any bombard. Like there were, except from 1 or 2, there was not much like havoc in our city where we lived. But obviously there was this question in our mind, like till when are we safe? So like children are definitely scared, and that's the reason why they are getting to the border. Just because if they feel that the border is much safer than the city they are living in.
Right, and they get out. Ashutosh, what would you say to the Prime Minister tonight and all the people who work to get you back?
PM to just make some shelters in Ukrainian border rather than making them in Romanian, because a person coming in shock or trauma, they first need to meet some government official there who can make them cross the Ukrainian border. Romanian border or Polish border is not an issue. I would like to make a point here. The problem is crossing Ukrainian border here, because we need to cross 2 countries' border before entering Romania.
Right.
So I would like to add this, that please make some like kiosk there for students coming, and just help them support.
And thankful for coming home. You were
we are really thankful to our government to help us evacuate from this difficult situation. Looking at other government, we can say our government is the best at this time to help us out of this situation.
Because I think Chinese and Pakistani students are still stuck there.
Yeah, they are stuck. They are requesting our Indian government to help them out. So I think they are doing a great job if other nationals are also asking them to help them out.
Well, we are really happy to see both of you back. We want to see every Indian student back. And Mr. Tiwari, I think really what you feel today, I can imagine what every parent is going through. And we hope to see all these students back home safely. Thank you so much for joining us. And we'll just take a quick look at the latest. Because Nidhi, what is the latest happening in that key UN General Assembly meeting at 8:30? Because India is still standing firm in abstaining along with China and the UAE.
Well, that's right. We already saw India abstaining as far as condemning Russia's aggression was concerned a few days ago, and India did it again last night on a procedural vote regarding this meeting of the UN General Assembly that's going to begin in just a few minutes from now. The problem really is that India is stuck between a rock and a hard place when it comes to this issue. And this is really the reason why. The fact is that India is under immense pressure, both from its old friend Russia on one hand, and on the other hand from its new friends in the West. So therefore, India has stopped short of condemning Russian action. The question now is, what is it going to do in the General Assembly? Now, Russia is India's biggest supplier of defense weapons. It's helped India, for instance, with the ballistic missile submarine, which is actually supposed to be the most state-of-the-art. India operates some 272 Sukhoi 30 fighter jets that are made in Russia. 8 Russian-made Kilo-class submarines are operated by India, and more than 1,300 Russian T-90 tanks are part of India's defense system. And then there is the S-400 air defense system that Russia has recently sold to India. Russia has also been a time-tested friend. It stood by India at the UN Security Council on all issues that have mattered to New Delhi. But at the same time, in recent years, we've also seen India becoming a closer friend of the United States. It needs the United States' support in tensions with China. India is a key partner of the US with defense, trade, technology. France, a P5 member of the UN, also an important partner for India on key issues. So that's why India is doing this tightrope, and it's expected that India will try to keep doing that for as long as it can.
Right, Nidhi, thanks so much for that update. Well, let's just have a quick look at the other news. Well, the December quarter growth, quarter 3, is lower than the previous quarter. It's at 5.4% versus quarter 2 GDP growth at 8.4%. That's lower than the previous quarter because of a fall in the growth of sectors like agriculture. And if you can just look at that, agriculture, mining, manufacturing, transport and construction. Also, the January core sector output is also down slightly versus 4.1% in December. It's now 3.7%. That's because crude oil production and fertilizer output is down. All other sectors see some uptick. Well, we'll have lots more ahead on Reality Check. But before we leave, this is what the sheer bravery of ordinary Ukrainians are. And here's a woman confronting an armed Russian soldier. A video going viral.
Які вчення? Ви що, росіяни? Якого хера ви тут робите?
Ну, сейчас наш с вами разговор ни к чему не приведет.
Вы оккупанты, вы фашисты, вы пришли на нашу землю. Какого хера вы пришли с оружием к нам?
Кто сказал?
Вы фашисты, вы пришли на нашу землю. Какого хера вы пришли с оружием к нам? Возьмите семечки, положите сырые, чтобы хоть подсолнухи росли, когда вы здесь ляжете.
Сейчас наш разговор ни к чему не приведет. Давайте не будем усугублять это. Сейчас наш разговор ни к чему не приведет. Давайте не будем усугублять эту ситуацию. Пожалуйста.